Hello there, my dear friends and fellas. How are you all doing? I hope you are doing fantastic. It's me, Werty, and today we're gonna do an experiment revolving my beverage of choice. Now, is it actually a different name for Werty is indulging in his drinking addiction? Maybe. You see, as I mentioned before, I think more than a year ago by now, in the Coke bottle saga. The fact that we import Coca-Cola when we also produce it here. Now, there is a good reason for it, and only in the past year I've actually came to know it. You see, effectively, since 2015, Coca-Cola has a monopoly on this drink after winning the competition between other brands. And since then, because they are the only producer and distributor of Coca-Cola, they started to hike their prices. And by the principle of free market, a lot of people saw it as disadvantage. They are exploiting the fact that people drink only Coke and not other brands like Pepsi or off brands like Green Cola, which was a whole disaster and lasted only for 1 month. So alongside of importing stuff like this bottle, which is an import from Poland, alongside those cans that we don't produce here, and importing some flavors that we don't produce here, such as this one. Although, in my opinion, this one is a bad one, and we are not gonna visit this one. Since effectively March of 2020, the Food Administration inside the the Ministry of Agriculture in Israel have opened the market for private vendors to openly and with tax free and stuff like that, the ability to order abroad from wherever they want. And their destination of choice is Ukraine. Why? Because just like cigarettes and other things, prior to opening their relations with Dubai and the United Emirates, buying stuff from Ukraine and Eastern Europe in general is a lot cheaper than buying it from anywhere else. For instance, this can of Israeli made Coke cost me 7 shekels. This can, I bought it inside a pack of 12 that cost me overall 32, effectively making it, if we divide it very quick, less than 3 shekels for this can, making it 60% cheaper. And here I come to question, what is actually the difference between those two? Is it the same product, just cheaper? Or are there other differences? Aside from the obvious ones that you can see here. This is the experiment today. So let's see out those cans. On face value, you can see the obvious difference here. So the difference is obvious. The label. Here, the Israeli one, the label is going from bottom to top. Whereas on the Ukraine one, they are going side to side. Now, there are some other Israeli cans, like this one, that are also going from side to side. And also the smaller cans now, this one particular is from 2011. We still have those cans, but they are for vending machines. Other vendors like kiosks, supermarkets, stuff like that, and restaurants, they are using the elongated ones. They have the same capacity inside them. So this is one difference. The second difference is obviously the language. Here you can see the Ukrainian originalny smak, which means the original taste, whereas in the Hebrew one, you have on top classic and on bottom Ta'am HaChaim, or in free translation from Hebrew, taste of life. Another difference is here you can see the interface, but here it is covered. Now, this one is covered because underneath it, it was very underclimactic. Those laps are actually a response to Greenpeace Israel, who went all bonkers over Coca-Cola for not recycling enough and polluting the environment and other things. So as a response, they just introduced even more garbage, and basically it says here, whenever you finish, please throw the can into a recycling. Another difference is in the back here. Here, unlike the earlier imports like this one, the newer imports have a sticker on them. A sticker that says all the information, the labels and stuff like that. The difference here is because the newer imports are actually imports after the official let go of the Food Administration, whereas the earlier imports were sorta a private vendor's thing. They would do it privately as they wanted. My speculation is just like cigarettes, many of them were most likely also smuggled in, not necessarily brought in through a legal means. So the newer ones have a sticker in Hebrew, but underneath it, it's a Ukrainian label. Here, it's already printed in Hebrew. Another difference is, as you can see here, this label, this tiny little label, on the can itself, which is a new label from the Ministry of Health, actually, to label all foods that have high cholesterol, high fat, high sugar, and label in a green V mark all the healthy foods like bread, milk, 5% cheese, stuff like that. Now, things that those cans are similar in. First of all, the size. It's the same size, same volume. This one has 330 milliliters, and this one is also 330 milliliters. Both have the United States label Coke. Now, I haven't mentioned one major difference, which is this label, because this one is a particular campaign that Coca-Cola Israel has right now. It's a off-season thing. For example, this can, it looks different than the other cans because this one was produced during the Eurovision. There were like 3 different types of cans. I got only one because at the time I wasn't really drinking a lot of Coke, unlike today. And for example, this is their generic can, generic, just like this one, basically. Also, they have other like this one, which is Zero Lemon. I have no idea if they are producing it anymore. I haven't seen it in a while. So, on face value, they look the same. A little bit different graphic designs, but this is to be expected as we are talking about 2 different manufacturers. Now, here's a question. Both are produced in 2 different locations, however, both are produced under the same brand name, and they have both practically the same ingredients inside it, and both pass the global, the American or whatever thingy that actually valued them as a legit Coca-Cola brand. Now, another thing to note here. In the southern Levant, we have 3 Coca-Cola manufacturers. 1 in Jordan, obviously, and 2 in our stretch between the Jordanian River and the Mediterranean. 1 Israeli, which is located in the city of Bnei Brak, very close to Tel Aviv, and 1 in the West Bank. I believe the other one is located in Jericho, but don't get me on the word, I have no idea. Now, there's a difference in prices between those 2 due to legal reasons, in which vendors who know Arabic, before they opened up openly the import from other places, they were actually ordering from the Palestinian one because it is cheaper by 17%. So, now that I rambled for almost 15 minutes and my throat starts to hurt, let's open those bad boys. My palate cleanser of choice is my trusty water bottle, and the first test will be a smell test. We will start with the Israeli one. Nice. and I'm making a mess in the process. So, yep, smells like sugary water. The other one, yep, they have practically the same scent. If you would cover it and give it to a blind person, or do a blind smelling test, this is a Coke and this is a Coke. There's nothing here extraordinary. Let's go with the taste. Let's start with the Israeli one. Basically, it has a lot of carbon in it. Obviously, it's carbonated water after all. With a moderated taste of sugar. Because, the second ingredient after water is sugar, the third one being carbon dioxide. So it's no surprise that it has sugar in it, and it tastes like mostly sugar. Let's cleanse the palate and go with the Ukrainian one. Now, the carbon of the Ukrainian one is slightly higher to my taste, but other than that, it tastes exactly the same. Let's give it a taste together. It seems to me that the Israeli one is more modest than the Ukrainian one, but overall, it's the same thing. Now, the modesty is not even in the taste itself, but the lingering aftertaste, if you know what I mean. Like, the taste of the Israeli Coke doesn't really stay on your tongue for long, whereas the taste of the Ukrainian one stays. So, my conclusion here in this short experiment, it's the same product, just produced in two different places. That's about it. The only difference is the way the design is looking like, but it's to be expected. Two different manufacturers, two different countries. Also, the language is to be expected. Other than that, well, there is no difference really. So, the bottom line, which one I will buy? Here, it comes to what is available. I generally, well, not including lockdowns, I don't really drink. Although this one would say otherwise. I don't really drink that much anymore. Totally not looking at the bag full of empty cans that I drank the past week. We're not gonna talk about that one. So basically, I will buy what is cheaper and what is available. So for instance, if in my village, if I want a can of Coke, and my village sells the pack of 12 for 30, I will get it because it's very, very cheap. If, on the other hand, I am at the gas station and they sell a pack of 6 for 20, I will get it because it's still very, very cheap, as one from a vending machine costs 5, and at the store, one can cost 7. Now, in order to finish it off, we're gonna do something else. Let's see if I can add the two together. It will be very, very awkward to do it. Oh, almost. So, whilst I'll indulge in my sugary pleasure, God save me, I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and most importantly, a wonderful 2021. See you in the next video. Bye bye.